Chapter 14. Gretchen staggered against the wall. She clutched her stomach. I feel so sick, she thought. She fell to her knees and started to vomit. Her stomach heaved. Then, wiping a hand across her mouth, she tore her eyes away from Cindy's body and ran out of the kitchen in a panic. How did this happen? Where is everyone? A few steps from the kitchen door, she stumbled into Marco. He caught her in his arms. Gretchen, what? Marco demanded. It's Cindy, Gretchen choked out. Someone has... Huh? What about Cindy? Marco demanded. Gretchen tried to force the words out, but her tongue felt like rubber. Hot tears rolled down her face. She squeezed her eyes shut, but she kept seeing Cindy's body. The blood leaking from the open wound, the red blood, the white flower, Cindy's horrible, lifeless stare. Murdered. Gretchen's mind shrieked. Cindy has been murdered. Someone I know has been murdered. She looked up to see Patrick race out of the downstairs bathroom. What's going on? What's wrong? She's in there, Gretchen choked out. Go and see. She grabbed Patrick's arm and started to tug him into the kitchen, but she stopped when she saw the stain on Patrick's t-shirt. No, Gretchen gasped. No. The front of Patrick's shirt was covered in blood. Chapter 15. Gretchen felt the room spinning. A blackness closed in on her. I'm going to faint, she thought. She reached out to one of the walls for support. Patrick killed Cindy, Gretchen's mind screamed. He killed her. How did you get that blood on your shirt? Gretchen demanded. Patrick stared down at his shirt. I cut my hand trying to open the bedroom window upstairs, he answered. He held up his bandaged right palm. Was Patrick telling the truth? Gretchen couldn't think about that now. The kitchen? She whispered. Marco dashed into the kitchen, but Patrick stayed by Gretchen's side. Why isn't he running with Marco into the kitchen? Gretchen wondered. Is it because he already knows what's in there? Gretchen, maybe you should sit down or something. You look awful, Patrick said softly. He reached out to touch her arm. She flinched and pulled away. Her gaze dropped again to the bloodstains on his shirt. Gretchen couldn't answer. Tears filled her eyes and blurred her vision. She blinked them away. The escaped prisoner, Patrick whispered, his eyes widening with fear. How did he get in? Why did he kill Cindy? Gretchen heard a floorboard creak. She gasped in terror. She heard Patrick gasp too, as he turned quickly toward the sound. Then she heard familiar voices, Gil's and Hannah's voices. They strolled into the cabin, arms around each other. What's going on? Hannah asked. You guys look awful. Where's the birthday girl? Gil inquired. He gazed around the front room. Let's get this party rolling. The party's over? Gretchen moaned. Over, Gil replied. We haven't even cut the cake. It's Cindy, Patrick began. Cindy is dead? Gretchen blurted out. Somebody killed her? Hannah's arm fell away from Gil's waist. She took a step toward Gretchen. Huh? What did you say? She asked slowly. Dead? Gretchen whispered. Cindy is dead? Hannah shook her head back and forth. She can't be, she whispered. What are you saying? It's true, Gretchen choked out. Hannah's lower lip started to tremble and her eyes filled with tears. Cindy can't be dead. She can't, she sobbed. Gil gaped at Gretchen in shock. Are you sure? Gretchen nodded her head. Her body's in the kitchen? What are we going to do? Hannah sobbed. What are we going to do? We've got to get the police, Gretchen said. We can't get the police, Patrick cried. Gretchen spun around to face him. She felt her feelings well up inside as if she might explode. Patrick always acted like such a know-it-all, even at a time like this. Why not? She demanded. Cindy's been murdered. We have to do something. Patrick didn't answer. He stepped quickly toward Gretchen, an intense look on his face. What is he going to do? Gretchen wondered. Is it because I mentioned the police? Her eyes fell to the front of Patrick's shirt again, to the blood. Did he lie? Is that really Cindy's blood and not his? Is he the killer? Before she could back away, Patrick grabbed her. His strong arms wrapped around her. Patrick, stop! What are you doing? She cried. Chapter 16. Patrick drew Gretchen close to him. He's hugging me, Gretchen realized. Patrick is only hugging me. He's not hurting me. Calm down, Gretchen, he whispered soothingly. Calm down. We have to think clearly. We can't call the police. There isn't a phone in the cabin. There aren't any phones on Fear Island. Then we'll go home, Gretchen cried. We'll row back to Shadyside and get the police? We can't, Patrick insisted. Why not? Gil asked. Because of the storm, Hannah said. And because of the killer, Patrick added. He was in our kitchen. He might still be outside the cabin. We're safer inside. At least we have the gun. And he can't sneak up on us. Gretchen pulled away from Patrick. She felt a little bit calmer. Yes, the killer, she thought. We have to protect ourselves from the killer. But the gun isn't loaded, Hannah pointed out. I brought bullets, Patrick answered. Huh? You did? Gil asked. Patrick nodded his head. I told you, my dad wanted to make sure we were safe. He turned back to Gretchen. Are you okay? No, I'm not okay, Gretchen wanted to scream. One of my closest friends is dead in the kitchen. She's been stabbed to death, and she's lying in a pool of blood. But Gretchen didn't scream. She hugged her arms around her body. She wanted to scream and cry, but she couldn't. What would it accomplish? Cindy would still be dead. If only I had rushed back into the cabin when I overheard that argument, she thought miserably. Maybe I could have prevented Cindy's murder. What's going on? Jackson appeared in the doorway of the cabin with an armload of wood. Cindy's been murdered? Gretchen murmured. She watched Jackson closely, waiting for his reaction. But he didn't react at all. He didn't even blink. He dropped the wood into the bin next to the fireplace. Then he took off his yellow rain slicker and hung it on the coat rack. What's wrong with him? Gretchen wondered. Doesn't he have any feelings? Don't you have anything to say? Gretchen cried. Didn't you hear me? Cindy's been murdered. This is a joke, right? He asked. A joke? Gretchen guessed. Hannah shook her head sadly. It's no joke, Jackson. In the kitchen? Gretchen murmured. Jackson stared hard at them. Then he strode across the living room and threw open the kitchen door. Everyone followed him, except Gretchen. She stayed behind. She didn't want to see Cindy's lifeless body again, but being alone in the empty living room frightened her. She hurried into the kitchen and saw Marco standing over Cindy's body. His face was deathly white. Jackson and Patrick stood beside Marco in shocked silence. Gil and Hannah stood on the other side of Cindy's body. Hannah turned and buried her face in Gil's chest. Who could have done such a thing to Cindy? Hannah sobbed. Who? It's really true, Gil whispered numbly. She's really dead. Hannah pulled her tear-stained face away from Gil's shirt. We have to get to the police. Our parents. Do something. Hannah's right, Gretchen said. We need help. If we all stay together, we can make it down to the boat dock. The escaped prisoner isn't going to attack all of us at once. It's too big a risk, Patrick insisted. We only have to stay here until tomorrow afternoon. When we don't come home in the morning, our parents will send the police to look for us. What are we supposed to do in the meantime? Hannah demanded shrilly. I can't stay here now. I just can't. She began to sob again. Gil put his arms around her. I think we should try to get out of here, Gil said. None of us wants to stay here with Cindy dead in the kitchen. If you want to risk your lives, go ahead, Patrick said. But I'm not setting foot outside this cabin. But, Patrick, Gretchen started. The escaped prisoner is a maniac, Patrick cried. He's already killed once tonight. Gretchen stared at Cindy's lifeless body, at the puddles of blood in the flour. She imagined the way Cindy fought her killer, struggled for her life. Patrick is right, she decided. The killer could be anywhere. We can't take such a dangerous risk. I don't want to die, Gretchen blurted out, trembling. Then let's all stay put, Patrick urged. Wait a minute, Hannah spoke up. What if the prisoner isn't outside? Where else would he be? Gil asked. What if he's inside? Chapter 17. What if we're wrong? Hannah demanded. What if he's still inside watching us? They all stared at her, thinking about her words. Maybe he didn't have a chance to get away after he murdered Cindy, Hannah continued. Her eyes darted around nervously. Maybe he heard one of us coming back to the cabin and decided to hide. If he's inside the cabin, Patrick murmured, then nobody is safe. Marco looked around the kitchen uneasily. We're sitting ducks. Patrick, where's your gun? Gil asked. Go get it. No, Jackson ordered. Don't take the gun out, Patrick. Why not? Patrick demanded. We need protection. We don't know if the killer is inside, Jackson insisted. Let's not jump to conclusions. Hannah ignored Jackson's words and clutched Gil's arm. Maybe he's in one of the closets, watching through a crack, listening to everything we say. There's only one way to know for sure, Patrick said. Search the cabin. We won't sleep tonight unless we know he's not inside, Marcus said grimly. Hannah shuddered. I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight, not with Cindy dead in the kitchen. I'll search with you, Hannah, Gretchen volunteered. Hannah wiped away her tears and gave Gretchen a grateful smile. Thanks. The guys began climbing the stairs to the second floor. Gretchen and Hannah tackled the first floor. Gretchen, I'm so scared, Hannah whimpered. Gretchen reached for a knob on a closet door. She gazed over her shoulder at Hannah. You're not the only one, she confessed. Gretchen's sweaty palm slipped off the brass doorknob. She reached for it a second time and tightened her grip. Twisting the knob, she flung the door open. The closet was filled with old clothes. No one hiding inside. As Hannah hovered behind her, Gretchen opened the rest of the closets and peeked behind the drapes in the living room. Each time, she braced herself for an attack. Finally, there was only one place left to search. The kitchen. I can't go back in there, Hannah cried. I can't bear to see Cindy dead. Gretchen paused with her hand on the kitchen door. I'll go in by myself, you stay out here. No, Hannah cried, don't leave me alone. Gretchen sighed and took Hannah by the arm. She led her into the living room and sat her on the couch. I won't leave you alone, Hannah. We'll ask one of the guys to search the kitchen. Gretchen heard doors opening and closing upstairs. She kept waiting to hear a shout of discovery, but it never came. No killer, Hannah chanted. She pulled her knees up to her chest and started rocking back and forth. No killer inside, Gretchen repeated softly. Hannah shivered. I'm so cold. The fire has almost gone out, Gretchen said. I'll build it back up. Gretchen reached into the wood bin and tossed logs onto the fire. Soon the flames started to grow, crackling and popping, and warm rays of heat drifted out of the fireplace. Hannah climbed up from the couch and stood in front of the fire, holding out her hands. Better? Gretchen asked. A little, Hannah replied. Rain pounded the window pane. Gretchen stared out at the storm. Were they safe? Or was the escaped prisoner hiding out in the woods, watching the cabin and getting ready to make his next move? Would they get off the island alive? Gretchen went to check the locks on the windows. Pushing aside the half-open drapes, she checked each window. All were secure. But as the drapes fell back into place, Gretchen froze. Something on the porch. Something moving. Someone is out there, Gretchen gasped. Chapter 18. Gretchen raced over to the wood bin and pulled out a heavy log. Who is it? Hannah cried. What did you see? Gretchen didn't answer. She ran to the door. You can't go out by yourself, Hannah shrieked. It's too dangerous. Let one of the guys check. Gretchen reached for the doorknob. By the time they get down here, he could be gone. Don't do this, Gretchen, Hannah begged. Please. Gretchen pulled open the front door. Lightning flashed across the sky. Rain fell in heavy sheets. Gretchen slipped out onto the porch. She raised the heavy log in her hand. Her eyes darted from side to side, seeking the slightest movement. The wind sprayed her with rain. She felt her wet clothes sticking to her body. Is my mind playing tricks on me? Gretchen wondered. Am I seeing things? Over the pounding rain, Gretchen heard a sound. Behind her. Before Gretchen could turn around, a hand fell heavily upon her shoulder. Gretchen whirled around, swinging the log in her upraised hand. She stared into the eyes of her attacker. The log fell from her hand and clattered to the front porch. Jackson. What are you doing out here by yourself? He demanded angrily. When I checked the locks on the windows, I thought I saw someone out here. I was taking a look around. By yourself, he scowled at her. Someone had to check things out, she replied. That was stupid, Gretchen, Jackson scolded. You should have waited for one of the guys to go with you. Gretchen didn't feel like arguing with him. She brushed past him and stepped back into the house. Gretchen found a towel in the bathroom and dried herself off. Then she bundled herself in a yellow blanket and stood in front of the fireplace. Her soaking wet hair felt plastered to her head, and she tried to pull a comb through the tangles. Jackson stood beside her, wrapped in a blanket of his own, also warming himself up. He could have been watching you the entire time, getting ready to strike, Jackson said. It's a good thing Hannah told me you were out there. Jackson's words chilled Gretchen more than the icy rain outside. She recalled the scene in the kitchen that she'd overheard. Jackson and Cindy arguing. The sound of the slap. Then the silence. Should she ask Jackson about that argument? Would he tell her the truth? We didn't find anybody, Patrick announced as he marched into the room with Gil and Marco. Neither did we, Gretchen replied. She left Jackson at the fireplace and plopped down next to Hannah on the couch. Did you check everywhere down here? Jackson asked. Everywhere except the kitchen, Gretchen told him. Marco and I will do it, Jackson offered. Gretchen watched Jackson and Marco disappear into the kitchen. She could hear them moving about. Then all was quiet. Minutes dragged by. Jackson and Marco didn't return from the kitchen. Gretchen glanced at her watch. What was taking them so long? What's going on in there? Hannah whimpered. I don't know, Gretchen answered. She jumped up from the couch and strode to the kitchen door. She pressed her ear against the door. All was silent on the other side. The killer isn't there, Gretchen shrieked. He's killed Jackson and Marco. Chapter 19. Jackson, Hannah cried. Gretchen stepped back as Jackson and Marco came walking out of the kitchen. What happened? Gretchen demanded as they returned to the front room. She sat down next to Hannah. What took you so long? Sorry, Jackson apologized, sitting in a wooden chair across from the couch. We were in the walk-in pantry. So, is the kitchen safe? Gil asked. Jackson nodded. What do we do now? Hannah asked. Wait till the police arrive tomorrow? Marco shook his head. No, we asked some questions. Gretchen stared at Marco. Questions? What kind of questions? Marco turned to Patrick, who was sitting on the floor in front of the fireplace. How did you say you got that blood on your shirt? Gretchen watched as all eyes in the room locked on the front of Patrick's shirt. I told you, Patrick explained. I cut my hand when I opened the bedroom window. But there isn't any blood on the windowsill, Marco said. I know. I checked when we were searching upstairs. Patrick laughed. So? Is that supposed to mean I'm a killer? Why isn't there any blood? Gil asked. There isn't any blood on the windowsill because I cleaned it up. Patrick held up his bandaged hand. And if you still don't believe me, you can take a look at the cut on my palm, or check out the garbage in the kitchen. It's filled with pieces of broken glass. Gretchen felt her body trembling. She knew it wasn't from the rain and cold, but from the fear in the room. Can we please stop attacking each other? She pleaded. It won't do us any good. Let's try to figure out what we're going to do next. We need a plan. Hannah began crying again. I feel so awful, she sobbed. I fought with Cindy yesterday afternoon. I found out she won the scholarship I applied for, and I said some horrible things to her. Now I'll never have a chance to apologize. Gretchen studied Hannah, wondering if her tears were real. She remembered the scene in the kitchen, remembered Hannah saying she wished Cindy was dead, remembered how angry Hannah had been about the scholarship. With Cindy dead, there was a good chance that the scholarship would go to Hannah, and no chance of Cindy stealing Gil back. Gretchen's eyes traveled from Hannah to Jackson. Creepy Jackson, always staring at her, always watching her. Could he have been watching Cindy the way he watched her? She hardly knew him. He could be capable of anything, even murder. I heard you arguing with Cindy tonight, Jackson, Gretchen blurted out. I was outside. I heard you through the kitchen window. No way, Jackson denied. It was your voice, Gretchen insisted. I know what I heard. She saw Jackson's cheeks turn red as his temper flared. Are you calling me a liar? Gretchen couldn't believe what she was seeing. Jackson was losing his cool. I never argued with Cindy tonight, he insisted. You heard somebody else. Maybe it was Patrick. Or Marco. He's lying, Gretchen thought. I know what I heard. Jackson was arguing with Cindy. He slapped her. But did the argument spin out of control? Did Jackson do more than slap Cindy? Did he kill her? And would he have killed me out on the porch if he knew I overheard his argument with Cindy? And could he kill again? Chapter 20. Beside Gretchen on the couch, Hannah continued crying. It wasn't me, Patrick protested. I wasn't even inside the cabin. I went outside too. I felt drowsy. I thought some fresh air would wake me up. Someone is lying, Gretchen thought. Jackson's voice was the one I heard in the kitchen, I'm sure of it. And when I left the cabin, Patrick said he wasn't going to budge. As for Marco, he was outside with me, and Gil was with Hannah. Would you stop crying? Gil snapped at Hannah. You're driving me nuts. I'm sorry. I'm so upset, Hannah sobbed. I can't believe Cindy is dead. Tonight was supposed to be such a special night, and now she's never going to have another birthday. You don't care, Gil sneered. You were ready to scratch her eyes out tonight. That's because she was throwing herself all over you, Hannah shot back, and you were encouraging her. I was not. Yes, you were. Hannah narrowed her eyes at him. Did you really think Cindy liked you? She was just flirting with you to get back at me. Are you for real? Gil shot back. If it wasn't for Cindy's parents, she and I would still be going out together. You're jealous. You were always jealous of her. Stop it, Gretchen cried. Before you both say something you'll regret. Hannah ignored Gretchen's advice. She jumped off the couch and stood in front of Gil. Cindy didn't care about you, she told him. If she cared anything at all about you, she wouldn't have dumped you. That's not true. Hannah nodded. Yes, it is. Cindy always wanted what she couldn't have. She always had to steal things from other people. That's why she was always flirting with you. All that mattered was stealing you away from me. She didn't have to steal me away from you, Gil screamed. I was going to break up with you. I hate you, Hannah sobbed, tears streaming down her face. You're horrible. I wish you were dead. Like Cindy, Gil taunted, with a killer on the loose, maybe your wish will come true. Maybe I'll be dead by tomorrow morning, or maybe I'll get lucky and you'll be dead. Gretchen couldn't believe Hannah and Gil were saying such horrible things to each other. Stop it, she cried, pushing herself between them. Stop it, stop fighting. How can you say those things when there's a murderer out there? How can... Gretchen gasped as the front door burst open. It slammed hard into the wall. She spun around. Who's there? She cried. Chapter 21. No one there. The wind, Jackson murmured. The wind blew the door open. Gretchen sighed. She had expected to see the killer standing in the doorway, waving a bloody knife, threatening to kill them all. Jackson strode to the door and shut it. I guess I didn't close it all the way. Hannah sniffed. She sat back on the couch, drawing her knees up to her chest. The next time the door slams open, it could be the killer, getting ready to finish what he started with Cindy, she choked out. Why would the killer come back? Why would he come after any of us? Patrick asked. Why did he go after Cindy? Hannah demanded. She huddled in a corner of the couch. All I know is that I'm scared. I want to go home. We can't go home, Patrick said. Not until the police get here. By the time the police get here, we could all be dead, Hannah cried. Marco turned from the fireplace. That's not very likely. We have a slight advantage. I mean, there are 6 of us, and 1 of him. Not if he kills us off one by one, Hannah reasoned, wiping tear stains from her face. Hannah is right, Gretchen agreed. I think we all need to stick close together. I don't think any of us should go off by ourselves. It's too risky. Gretchen pictured Cindy's body sprawled in the flour. What were Cindy's last thoughts before she died? Gretchen gazed around the cabin at her friends. She felt as if she were seeing them for the first time. She thought she knew them, but did she? Could one of them have murdered Cindy? Was that why Cindy's eyes were filled with such terror? Had she been unable to believe that someone she trusted had killed her? No, Gretchen thought. It can't be. It had to be that escaped prisoner. If he had been hiding in the Fear Street woods, he could easily row over to the island. If it was the prisoner, she told herself. It had to be. Because if it's not the prisoner, one of my best friends is a murderer. Gretchen shuddered. We're safer if we all stick together, she said. Yeah, Jackson said. We stay together at all times, starting now. Follow me. We all have to go back to the kitchen. Huh? Hannah gripped her stomach. I can't even think of going in there again. Jackson sighed. It's important. I want to check out Cindy's body one more time. Why? Gretchen asked. She couldn't help feeling suspicious. Maybe it will help us figure out what happened, Jackson replied. Hannah shook her head furiously. I can't go back into the kitchen. I can't. Come on, Hannah, Gretchen coaxed, pulling her by the arm. You know we're right. We have to stick together. You can't stay out here alone. As soon as Gretchen led Hannah into the kitchen, Hannah raced to the other side of the room, as far away from Cindy's body as possible. Gretchen saw her turn to the wall with her eyes squeezed closed. Gil and Marco hopped up on a kitchen counter, while Patrick leaned against the refrigerator. Ignoring the others, Jackson began walking around Cindy's body. Gretchen stood in the center of the kitchen, inches away from the corpse. She stared down at the floor. She was standing so close to the body, her foot was practically touching Cindy's hand. She noticed red nail polish on Cindy's fingernails, some of it chipped away. A gold charm bracelet dangled around her wrist. But that wasn't all. Gretchen's eyes widened. How had she missed it earlier? A baseball cap, gripped in Cindy's hand. Cindy hadn't worn a baseball cap to the cabin. If the cap wasn't hers, where did it come from? Had someone else been wearing it? The killer? Did she grab it off her murderer? Gretchen raised her eyes to the others. Jackson was watching her. She returned his stare. What is it? Jackson demanded. Gretchen swallowed hard to clear her throat. Cindy is holding a baseball cap, she replied. Hannah's eyes popped open. What did you say? Cindy is holding a baseball cap, Gretchen repeated. She didn't wear one to the cabin? Her hand trembled as she pointed to the cap. Who does it belong to? Whose cap is it? Chapter 22. Patrick's mouth gaped open in shock. It's mine, he sputtered. Yours? Gretchen guessed. Marco jumped off the kitchen counter. His eyes narrowed as he studied Patrick. How did your baseball cap get in Cindy's hand? He demanded, narrowing his eyes at Patrick. Patrick shrugged. Hey, come on, give me a break. I don't know. Why are you asking me? Because it belongs to you, Gretchen said sharply. You admitted it. Just because my cap is in Cindy's hand, you think I killed her? Patrick exclaimed. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard. Hannah's eyes shot to Patrick. She backed away from him. You killed her? Of course I didn't kill Cindy, Patrick insisted. He took a step toward Hannah. Stay away from me, Hannah screamed. She darted to Gil's side. Don't come any closer. Hey, come on, guys, Patrick pleaded. You know me. We've been friends forever. Why would I kill Cindy? It's totally dumb. Then why is your cap in her hand? Marco demanded again. How did it get there? Patrick threw his hands up in the air. I don't know. Is that all you can say? Gil cried. He had his arms around Hannah, who was shaking. That cap is real evidence, Patrick. It points right to you. I want to go home, Hannah sobbed. I wish we'd never come to this horrible cabin. It doesn't prove anything, Patrick insisted. I don't know how my cap got in Cindy's hand. I hung it on the coat rack by the front door when we came in. Nobody saw you do it, Jackson told him. I am not lying. You have to believe me, Patrick pleaded. I hung my cap by the front door. Maybe Cindy decided to wear it. Hannah uttered a bitter cry. You're pathetic. Do you really expect us to believe that? Cindy is wearing a jacket, Gretchen pointed out. You're right, Gil said. It's my grandfather's lumber jacket from the hall closet. So maybe Cindy was going outside for some air, Gretchen continued. Maybe it was raining and she didn't want to get her hair wet, so she grabbed Patrick's cap off the rack. Cindy freaked out if her hair got the least bit frizzy. Everyone knows that. Patrick nodded. That makes sense to me, he said. But if she was worried about her hair in the rain, why was she clutching your cap so tightly after she was stabbed? Gretchen asked. I think she was trying to leave a clue to the identity of her killer, Marco said. Maybe the killer was wearing the cap, and she pulled it off his head while he was stabbing her. No, Patrick gasped, shaking his head. No. You have blood on your shirt, Jackson pointed out. And Cindy is grasping your cap, Gil added. So what? Patrick cried. That doesn't make me a murderer. But it does make you look very guilty, Hannah blurted out. I have a gun, remember? Patrick cried heatedly. If I wanted to kill Cindy, I'd shoot her. I wouldn't stab her with a bread knife. Gretchen felt horror wash over her as she listened to Patrick's words. She stared down at Cindy's blood-caked wound. How do you know it was a bread knife? She gasped. Tell us, Patrick. How do you know what kind of knife the killer used?